Good to stare at the camera so everyone thinks you're looking at them. All right. Hey everyone, and welcome to another Friday session. Today is a little bit special. As some of you know, I'm the host of the 9x90 podcast and international show. And today we have someone on who is, I believe, relevant also to the Molo9 community, which is why we have sidestepped our usual Molo9 Friday agenda to bring in a 9x90 guest. You will be able to see the recording of this afterwards, both in Molo9 and in 9x90 channels. So I would like to introduce you to the CEO of Topia. As some of you may recall, we have done a few of our Q&A sessions in Topia before. This is Daniel Liebeskind. So thank you for coming on and joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I am thrilled to be here.
Yeah. And where are you tuning in from?
So I'm in Los Angeles in West Hollywood, and that's where our company is headquartered. But we have people all over the country, really all over the world.
Okay, very cool. We have, let's see. Sorry, we just have a few comments coming in. Okay, everything's good.
It's exciting. Bring them on.
All right, so they know they have to ask their questions at the end. First, we're going to start with a few warm-up questions, a few soft pitches. So how did you come up with the idea for Topia?
Topia has actually been something that I've been thinking about for really the last decade. And I've been dabbling in the idea of how do you bring people together online in a way that actually feels more like real life and really how humans evolved to be social as animals and to build community with each other around shared experiences, beliefs, topics. And so, my personal frustrations with social media and that being more about my identity, the persona that I'm creating and broadcasting, and less about the actual connective tissue, led me down the path of developing technology. As early as 2015, I had a startup called Body that was using web real-time communication technology, which is what we're using in Topia. And that was to help fitness instructors to actually bring people together for live interactive fitness classes online. So, how do you make fitness online fun and social and interactive? So that was really the goal there. And I guess my second path that led me to Topia is really trying to, for many, many years, trying to figure out how to help artists and creators and really the people that as we go into the future and artificial intelligence and some of the things that people are actually scared of, like Terminator style, which I don't fully buy into, but as we get displaced in a lot of our rote functions, the creatives are really the last bastion of humanity in many ways. And so how do we right now take the steps to actually really support artists and creators and experienced programmers and some of these musicians, some of the things that are actually really hard to be monetarily right now. And so, for example, I lived in Bali for a year and I was helping people that were teaching dance and trying to have retreats to do digital marketing. And it didn't really make any sense financially for me, but it was along this path of how to, a lot of people are just really confused with how to make money online, how to actually bring people together in systematic ways and really be able to practice their craft and give their craft to people. So both of these sort of parallel paths for me led to what is Topia, where you can bring communities together online, be social. You guys have experienced it, on this through this podcast, it sounds like. But you have the one hand is community coming together, being social with each other, real-time communication, synchronous connection, experiences online, and then also supporting creators. And we have a whole creator ecosystem where people can collaborate to actually create experiences, put them into a marketplace, actually just even earn money by being what we're calling a confluencer, by bringing people together in a world. You don't even need to charge anything, and you still earn commissions through the platform.
Yeah, that's
long story.
All right, so you actually already answered the second question, which is what did you do prior to creating Topia? Okay, and I do have, for those of you tuning in, I do have quite an extensive bio of Daniel's entire history that you'll be able to read on the 9x90 site as well as the Molo9 site. later on. But do you want to like briefly pull out some highlights?
Highlights, I guess for me, it's been a career. Really, the last decade has been frantically building products and obsessively building products, and really the art of the build, of bringing people together, of the excitement around the creation. So being, thinking of myself really as an artist, that I'm now creating Topia, for people like me that just get a thrill, really, really enjoy the process of creation, of invention, of thought. And so I had, as an example, one of the highlights for me is a dev shop that I had for a few years where we built something like 20 to 25 different products, both for clients and for ourselves. And so, really productive, really fun, lots of different people involved. And so it's kind of a community of people building really awesome things. So that was what I did most recently before I joined a firm called Everpedia, which was a way to sort of have community around a Wikipedia type structure and earn commissions from actually contributing knowledge to this global database. It was actually on a blockchain. I've also built tons of games. So there are elements of Topia that are very game-like. Actually, right before Topia, I was in parallel with Topia, right as it was beginning, I was building something called Satoshi's War with a friend of mine named Lena Bell. And that was, kind of a precursor to what became Topia's game canvas, at least. And so, it's been a career of lots of building. If anybody wants to, do something similar, I just recommend go out there, do it, start creating things. It's been a good journey.
Okay, so Topia is pretty young, a year old.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say were some of your favorite growth strategies where you saw the best traction come from them?
Yeah, great question. So Topia has been really unique in that we have been building in public basically since the very beginning. So our first event took place 3 weeks. Our first public event took place 3 weeks after our first line of code. And so our growth really has been be in public, build really fast. I got really good at building things fast just by doing this for the last, for many years. And so, we built pretty fast. This prototype launched to the public, had a big event. We had about 100 people in there, which was like all the platform could even support at that point. And it was sort of testing the limits at 100 people. That was about 3 weeks. Then every weekend, basically, we started throwing another event. We would join an event, and then we'd iterate during the weekdays. And we had this kind of feedback loop of building community. So we've been out in public, throwing events, building community. We then got hooked up with Burning Man. We co-hosted Burning Man last year, which was a huge growth event for us. And so, the best way to grow is to launch, be in public, build community, listen to your community, right? Be community led. Many of our community members are we've actually brought some onto the team. We work really, really closely. We're collecting feedback constantly. We really built the product around what the community wanted. And so we were building for sort of our power users. And we had a flywheel. People that had a conversation, some percentage of them, about 15%, go on then to create their own world and bring more people in who then have conversations. And that's kind of been our flywheel.
Brian Switchcow is actually the gent who introduced me to Topia.
Amazing. Yeah. He's wonderful human. Really close collaborator of ours. I brought him into Topia about maybe a month after the first line of code. So he was there right in the beginning, right around those first events. I think within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, he decided that he was going to build a whole organization on top of Topia as a platform. And we've been jamming ever since.
Yeah. He's so funny. He's actually the reason I stayed in growth hacking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A few years ago, I was in a forum and I was like, I had moved from Silicon Valley to Miami and I was like, I'm thinking about like stepping out of growth hacking into something else. Like, it's just not great down here. And he called me up like as if he was my older brother and lectured me for like an hour about how I cannot like step out of growth hacking because like I had hit certain milestones that no other growth hackers had hit. And I just had to like change my pricing model. He's very funny. I really appreciate him. But yeah.
Amazing. He's building what he's calling a surreal estate company on top of Topia. So he's actually sort of pushing the envelopes of this creator ecosystem. And yeah, it's the beginning of a lot of this stuff, but I'm very optimistic about what he's doing in general.
He's all about do you know what 0-day growth exploits?
Mm-hmm.
0-day hacks, and then
Yeah.
there's 0-day growth exploits for growth hackers. I taught him that phrase a few years ago when we were on the phone, and then he was like all about it after that. And when he introduced me to Topia, he's like, "There's so many 0-day growth exploits in here. You have to get on the platform right now."
He's brought this concept up to me before. People listening probably would be curious if you want to tell them about it, but I've heard it from Brian.
Yeah. So for those of you who tuning in who do not subscribe to the Molo 9 channel, a 0-day growth exploit is basically it's an opportunity for growth hackers to use some sort of mechanism in younger platforms to get exponential growth. So that 10x growth, 1000x growth. I equate it to thinking of like a candy factory where they leave the door open so that local kids run in, sneak and like steal some candy and try the candy, and then they lock the door the next day. And so then they're hooked on that candy. And some companies have their 0-day growth exploits where they're like that. They're like a teaser to get people quickly onboarded. Other people, they leave the door open to like specific influencers. And then that's how they quickly gain traction. So there's an entire write-up on this that most people, when I monologue it, their eyes glaze over. I can link in the comments to the exact live Q&A session where I went through all this. But basically 0-day growth exploits, they allow you to quickly acquire customers and to quickly get a lot of brand impressions on different platforms. The younger the social media platform, the more growth opportunities you'll find. The older the platform, there's usually fewer and fewer opportunities. Like, for example, on Facebook, you really just have ads or paid ads. You have Facebook groups. Even those are like, their algorithm is like so finely tuned that you really don't get a lot of traction on there. It's like every minute you invest, you get a minute out. LinkedIn right now has quite a few 0-day growth exploits, but they're gradually shutting them down more and more. You notice that there are more on just younger platforms. So like on TikTok, there are a lot of opportunities for like 10x growth right now. But yeah,
I would love to have an in-depth conversation about this within the Topia context, just to even learn from you about how we could intentionally build these things.
Yeah,
could be really interesting.
We can schedule that after this call.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I have quite a few friends. I feel like you're much more qualified to answer this question. I have quite a few friends whose kids are like young, talented programmers. What advice would you give to them if they're looking to one day launch their own $5 million funded startup?
The advice I would give if you're trying to build products is to start building products.
Okay.
And you'll figure it out, right? So there's a lot of different types of engineers, and going to undergraduate school where you're learning engineering is one path, but not going to ensure that you're then able to actually build products in the wild. And in fact, you're often learning very deep algorithmic data structures, things that are really foundational, really important and useful as an engineer. But the best way to learn to build products is literally just to do it. And at this point, I've built probably 40 to 50 different products, and most of them are failures, right? Yeah. So you're going to fail over and over and over and over again, and almost by design, almost by intention. And if that's the path you want to go and you want to be like an expert product builder, you just need to do that and practice the muscle memory. And it's really hard to find teachers of this because the really, really great product builders are building products. They're not really teaching you how to do it. So a lot of it is just self-teaching, trying things, failing, pushing yourself, find like a niche, find something that you're really passionate about and try to build those things, or something that's really useful to you. Because if it's useful to you, it's probably useful to other people. And there are a lot of hacks to learn programming. So you don't need to go to undergraduate university to learn. And in fact, I did not, right? I built games when I was a kid. Similar to probably some of your viewers. Nobody really taught me. I did take, I guess in high school, I took a programming class for a couple of years. and that was incredibly useful in game building, in data structures. And then I went to a coding boot camp when I was older, which is called Hack Reactor. That was really, really helpful. And other than that, I've been self-taught and really just iterative. And my first products were really not good. They were almost embarrassing, and even the ideas were not very refined. And I've just gotten better and better by persistently doing it. So it's like anything, practice makes perfect.
I'm self-taught, so I always feel bad when they send me these kids, and I'm like, oh, I just learned PHP last year. I'm probably not the best person to teach you.
Totally. Well, and you just learned PHP. So another thing I recommend to people is just become technical, right? It's like going to Hogwarts or something. You either don't know anything technical, but once you learn something, and there's always a question of like, what programming language should I learn? Like, what's the perfect thing for my future? It doesn't actually matter. You just need to learn something, because then you're technical, and from there you can learn anything, right? And really that's what it is learning how to learn and how to grow technically.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started with C++ and Java in high school. And
Amazing.
My parents were like, classic Jewish parents. They were like, could you not waste your time playing with computers and actually study something like medicine or law? So I got an undergrad degree in medicinal and biological chemistry. And nothing to do with marketing or software. And then
you seem a little. Oh, keep going.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you seem a little younger than I am, but I think probably when we were both young, it wasn't really cool. Like Facebook wasn't like this big thing. Startups weren't really a thing. So being a programmer was like like you just said, you were like playing video games. That's how most people considered it. Now it's totally different. But now it's like required learning.
Yeah, I grew up surfing with one of my friends. His dad would always be like the dad that went surfing with us, and he was a Java developer for Oracle. And like he was always encouraging us. Like we'd go out in the water, and like in between sets, he would be talking to us about like what he was doing at work, and like so we were all like just lapping it up. Like we have to do this, even though like our parents said no, we have to try it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, I used the pandemic to learn SQL, PHP, what else? JavaScript, a few other languages. But
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I have a good buddy of mine who's a music manager, and he also he became technical during the pandemic. I think it would be really interesting to learn like how many people did that, right? It was the perfect thing to pick up during a pandemic.
Well, you're stuck in your house. It's the only thing you can do. Like how many tech startups were launched by non-tech people during the pandemic?
Right. Totally.
I told one of my buddies who's a programmer for Wells Fargo in New York City, I was like, Lewis, I want to learn to code. And he was like, well, you have the pandemic to build software. And as you need to build each feature, learn how to build it. And that's literally how the software company came to fruition.
Incredible.
Yeah, fun stuff. Okay, so now we have questions opened up for the audience. I see David and Casey are tuning in now. Oh, there's a few people. I know you guys won't represent like all 3,000 watching this later, but if you have any questions you want to drop in, I think that'd be helpful for everyone. It's a 5-second lag, so we will have like an awkward silence before questions come in. Because we have some people in the audience who are hearing impaired, so YouTube has to auto caption and then send it to YouTube.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited for questions.
Let's hear it. Maybe not.
I don't know if you've used it. There's a new feature in Topia actually called the podium feature where you can. Oh, you've used it. Okay.
Where you stand in front of the podium and then it blasts the entire world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Right. So like for question and answer, before we had this thing, it's just funny how Topia's evolved, right? Before we had the podium, it was really hard to do question and answer. And now it's probably the most fun thing that I've done in Topia.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fun things, but that's a really good one.
Okay. I love Topia. The thing that like is not so great for me is it doesn't stream to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And like every time we stream to YouTube, we get customer acquisition is like very, very great for my company in particular. And every time I stream to Topia, there's like no new customer acquisition.
Got it. Yeah.
So
being able to
at the numbers, but
Yeah, totally. So being able to be in Topia and stream to YouTube simultaneously, your broadcast is on a roadmap. It's very feasible. It's just one of those things we haven't quite done yet.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of additional broadcast capabilities. We are exploring RTMP streams and just a lot of functionality, a lot of upgrades to that. We're actually doing a huge UI rebuild right now. That's kind of our big focus for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And then things like leveling up our broadcast, our editor in general is going to go through a huge iteration, leveling up. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff coming. And like you pointed out before, we're a pretty new company in the grand scheme of things and going pretty fast. So this kind of feedback is actually incredibly helpful because I would love for more people like you to use Topia to bring people together, to do the Q&A, but also to be able to stream it to Twitch and YouTube. And actually, there's no reason to not get that kind of cross-platform juju. And right now, a new thing for us is you actually can stream YouTube and Twitch into Topia live. And so you actually can do it in reverse right now, which a lot of people are doing.
Maybe Ben could send me the link to how to do that after this.
Sure, yeah.
Awesome. Because that would be very cool. I think Topia is a lot of fun. But all right, so we do have questions coming in now.
Cool.
Okay.
We filled the space.
Yes, we did. High five. Okay. So what things are you most excited about that are not yet out for Topia? Like, which features are you most excited to build next? You already mentioned the YouTube one. Any that you can talk about, because we know that like you do have to like keep some stuff behind the curtain. That's
what's going through my head is like, okay, which thing should I actually talk about? What am I
saw that
most excited about?
Of like, I recognize that. Okay.
No, so I think the UI rebuild and really it's not just UI, it's the user experience is about to get a massive upgrade. We've been designing this with our community for really like 5 months now. And now we're in the implementation phase and we're about 5 weeks away from deploying this. I should probably say 6 weeks away just so we don't put public time pressure on ourselves unnecessarily, but we're about 6 weeks away from launching that. That's going to be huge. It's going to really make the platform go from feeling kind of like this really cool project to a mature product. And so that's huge. There's going to be really big overhaul of the permissioning system within Topia. So that's another one that I'm really excited about. That seems not that cool. But when you layer that in with the expansion in the way that we are built, the features that we have for being able to manage communities, and I'm kind of being delicate the way I'm saying this, just to not give too much away, but there's basically going to be a big leveling up of Topia as a community platform, as a way to actually bring your community together and have different permissions for people that are part of your ecosystem, and allowing everybody essentially to participate in the governance of your community, in the building of your worlds. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff around that. Another one just generally is right now in Topia, everything is purely synchronous, right? You have to be together in order to really have any kind of human connection. It's really wonderful human connection. You can have experiences, but it's challenging to sort of like take things away from that interaction. With things like profiles, ability to connect and stay connected, and invite your friends into experiences that you're having. Even the kinds of questions that we're asking are, what is the nature of being somebody's friend in Topia, right? It's very different than a friend in Facebook, many of whom I've not ever even met or had a real experience with. And so in Topia, that's just different. And so, as we think about our product and its evolution, we're really intentional. And actually, I would say we go very slowly. I know to most people, it looks like we go really fast, but we go very, very, we're building very intentionally to say what drives human connection, what drives safety, accessibility, and fun, right? Those are the kinds of things that our decision matrix around product. And so we have a lot of really great things coming out that will drive community and human connection, accessibility, safety, consent-based, all of these kinds of things. So yeah, it's coming soon.
Makes sense. All right, there's another one. This one's very open-ended. Where do you want Topia to go within the next 5 to 10 years? Are you seeing this as
Yes.
like the next Facebook, LinkedIn, or like something that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we're undergoing an evolution of social online, and really not just social, but many products that exist right now that were sort of the first iteration of the internet. We're entering into a more intentional internet, is what I would say, right? Where people are being more thoughtful around not just how can we iterate for an attention economy and to drive the sort of Web 1.0 business models, or maybe Web 2.0 business models, but business models of the future, and build in, for example, things like for Topia, in Topia's case, and I think in many platforms' case, build safety and consent into the protocol, and not just be iterating to drive engagement, right? And so the preamble to that is, 4 or 5 years from now, I would like for Topia to be the evolution of how people are socializing with each other in a synchronous way, right? So when they're actually coming together for experiences, for fun, for human connection, using Topia, a platform like Topia, and being able to create their own space to bring people together, right? And having it be less on the internet and everything be this persona that I'm carefully crafting, putting out in the world, but instead be about the space that I'm creating and that others are creating, that we're sharing with each other, and that we're using to actually bring people together so that they can connect with each other. And so, 4 or 5 years from now, everybody having their own Topia world or network of worlds, belonging to communities, right? So similar to how you belong to Facebook groups, or you might have a Facebook page, or you have a Twitter handle, or an Instagram, have Topia world be part of Topia communities, and being able to actually like portal between them and go on journeys with your friends, hang out synchronously online and socialize, meet new people, have serendipity, all these kinds of things that you can do in real person right now, you can't really do online.
Yeah, I'm just gonna move my very desk for a second because for whatever reason the Wi-Fi is acting up. But don't worry, people only see your face, not mine. Okay.
No worries.
So, the next question was, do you have any plans to create a parallel VR version?
Yeah, so that's something that we do talk about. We're trying to make sure that Topia is really accessible, but the question asker is bring up a really good point, which is that we actually can be cross-platform, cross-technology. There's no reason that Topia can't be rendered in a different hardware device. So right now we're browser-based, but we could use the same backend technology, the same connection manager, and a lot of the same functionality, and just render it in a different platform and have it be actually cross-compatible, where somebody is on a browser, somebody's in a mobile native app, is VR, a headset, and they're all interacting with each other through the same connection management system and the same WebRTC kind of. And so that is something that we're talking about. Even more interesting in the short term and sort of the immediate term, in my mind, is hybrid events, right? So people being able to be at an in-person event, and also people being at the comparable digital event, and them interfacing between each other. So not just like VR and browser people interacting, but browser or VR and in-person people interacting. And that layer, that is in many ways the future of events, because 70,000 people, just as an example, Burning Man can have 70,000 people in person, 70 or 80,000. But millions of people all over the world want to participate in it. And right now it's kind of gated, or in the in-person event, it's kind of gated to who can spend thousands of dollars, have access to this thing, who even can get tickets, which are really challenging to get. And so, hybrid events, I think, are the future. They bring accessibility to people all over the world. Suddenly your community, your event is no longer regionally constrained or cost constrained. Can be everywhere, right? And so the notion of what your community is way, way, way broader. And so that's something we're exploring as well. And VR, that's coming in the future. We're focused on what's gonna reach the most people right now.
Okay, so next question is how you might have already crossed this. You know what the chasm is?
Crossing the chasm?
Yes.
Yeah, I know the concept.
Okay, have you had to cross the chasm? If yes, how did you do it? If you have not crossed it yet, what are you thinking about how you're going to cross it?
Man, that's an interesting question. My my general sentiment is that there's always a lot more to do, and so we've crossed it in some ways, in some aspects. I'll admit I kind of forget exactly what crossing the chasm means, so I'm not sure fully.
So you have like the people who are like your early fans that very quickly pick up
Right.
whatever you're putting down, and then you have some people that are a little bit like slower moving who are just like, I need to see quite a bit of marketing before I make the jump. Have you had to do that yet? And if yes, how did you do it?
Yeah, we've crossed the chasm in that it's not just early adopters using us. We've had enterprises, for example, take big risks using Topia.
Yeah.
And we had a big client customer when they did their IPO, they brought 1,000 people into Topia and had their sort of celebration party in Topia.
Oh my gosh.
And so just as an example, right? And they're not like super early adopters.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the person leading was more inclined towards early adoption. And so I think we're probably crossing it right now is the real answer. And we have a huge community of early adopters that are like diehard Topians that love what we're doing, that are meeting up with each other constantly, regularly coming to our community meetups, which I recommend for anybody that's interested. They're on Thursdays at I believe 2:30 Pacific in topia.io/community. So come check those out. And we're bridging that gap. There's still a lot more around like early adopters that we can get as well. But it's something I would say that like we just raised $5 million. Part of that is really to jump across the chasm, expand our team. Okay. We haven't really focused on marketing or distribution at all yet. And so a lot of this has just been organic and word of mouth. So we've been like slowly crossing the chasm, but now it's time to really make the leap, I think.
Make that jump.
I'm kind of figuring that out loud as I'm talking through it.
Okay, we've all been there.
Yeah.
The next question actually was sent in on Telegram. Do you have any plans to allow people to white label the platform?
Yeah, so you can do that right now. You can embed Topia inside of your website. People that subscribe to a Topia World, which is $9 a month, you get a custom URL. So
I have that.
That's like community, right? Where people meet up. You have one, I believe. And if you have that, you can put that into your website as an iframe. Essentially, we have to enable it on our end for now, for security reasons and privacy. We don't really want like a spammer embedding it in and just like clickjacking ads and that sort of stuff. So we kind of moderate where Topia is being embedded, but it is very possible to do. And so if you just email team@topia.io and you're a subscriber, we can enable it for your domain. And you can, people are doing all sorts of really interesting things by embedding, by white labeling, around e-commerce, for example. This could be like the place where you just meet people. And we have a doorbell now, like a web doorbell and push notifications. So you can literally use this as like your on your website, on your e-commerce platform. You set the whole thing up so that it showcases your product. And anytime somebody goes in there, you get an alert, you go in, they're on your website, right? They're just like, oh, I'm at whatever this product's website is. And they're interacting with you somehow through this portal. And it's pretty wild, the experiences people are having doing that.
Okay. All right. That was a little bit over my head. I'm trusting that we will get some links to put into the comment section.
Okay. Yeah. We can do that.
And then I can send those over to people who've asked those questions. Okay. Next. Next question.
I guess the short answer to that is if somebody's interested in white labeling or embedding Topia inside of their website, you should just email us at team@topia.io and we can help you with it.
Okay, I'm going to drop that into the comments section. Team@topia.io. All right. next question. Have you noticed that there's like a specific age range for Topia users? And have you noticed that there's like a cliff for older users trying to adopt Topia?
That's a good question. Right now, we say that we're 13 and up. We're, we are exploring the best way to make Topia safer for kids in general, for even younger than 13. We have a lot of overlap in users or use cases with things like Roblox, if you're familiar with that, which is predominantly for children. In many ways, what people consider us is to be like the adult version of Roblox. My 95-year-old grandfather had his birthday party in Topia, and he was able to click join. He came in. He wasn't really moving around that much, but everybody was moving around him. And so I wouldn't say there's like a cliff, right? And we've made this really intentionally trying to be incredibly accessible. So there's not a lot you need to do. You literally come in, you enter a display name, you click join, that's it. And then you're just there. And because it's all spatial, people can navigate around you. So we have all age ranges. I guess older people in general are usually a little bit more skeptical of social technologies. So the majority of our users are not 95, but we definitely have them.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. Okay. That's it. David, Casey, Andrew, whoever else is tuning in. Do you guys have any other questions for Daniel? I know we've held him hostage for 40 minutes now.
These are great questions, though. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, of course. Let me see if any were asked in the Telegram group. No, we're all clear there.
Cool.
We're all set. Okay. If you guys have no other questions, then we're going to thank Daniel for his time, and I will see you guys all back online, and I'll put information and the links on molo9.com as well as on 9x90. Sounds good? Give them like a
Amazing.
4-second delay to respond. Sorry.
All good.
The downside of ADA compliance. But yeah,
that's great. Well, it's good that you're doing that, and thanks so much for having me on here. Really, that was a treat, and I feel like I was like more open than especially about the features that are coming and that sort of stuff than I necessarily intended. But I'm glad that I was, and that was really a fun chat that we just had.
Yeah, I appreciated having you on. Nope, they're saying no more questions, and thank you for your time. So Amazing. I guess we will all be using your app shortly for those who are not already using Topia. Thanks, Daniel. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.